Hi, everyone. So I'm Vicki, and today we have a very special guest, Ken Kinya, who is joining us from Kenya. And I'm so uber excited to have you on Conversations with Vicki because we're creating this series so that we can really bring to light some of the questions that we're all wondering about. So a note to everyone, we don't have anything pre-planned. This is really us. The way that we created the series is that Ken and I are collaborating on the Vicki D brand and on creating the site. And really, how do I want to appear in this world? And he has been absolutely instrumental in bringing that vision to life. And I couldn't thank you more than I have for being such an amazing partner in all of this. But as part of those discussions, we would always veer off and have these tangential conversations that were always uber enlightening. And so as a result, we decided to create the series, which would be Conversations with Vicki. I think Ken is going to be a very frequent guest on those conversations. And today we're just going to allow for the conversation to come to us and to see what needs to come through, because every time it is something new and different. I will pause here because I want to give you, Ken, the opportunity to introduce yourself, who you are, not what you do, but who you are. Of course, what you do is part of that, but I would really love for you to share just a little bit about yourself and just for people to get a sense for your essence.
Oh, okay. So yeah, as Vicki said, my name is Ken Kinya. I am a human. That's that. I think before I go into what I do, I am a human living in Kenya, a specific beautiful, very beautiful town called Nakuru. It is one of Kenya's most prized gems. It just recently became a city. I've been living here for about a year now, and I love it. I moved away from Nairobi just to experiment this other city life, and I've been loving it every single day. So that said, I am also a marketing strategist and a fractional CMO. So if you're looking for one, just hit me up.
He's amazing. He is amazing. So I can genuinely say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. So who are you, Vicki?
Who am I?
Yeah, you didn't say who you are.
You're totally flipping it on me. So I was not prepared to answer this question. I'm also a human. And really, like, if I elevated, I'm a spirit living a human experience, honestly, So that's how I think of myself. And, I am just this human who is ever evolving, ever changing, ever growing. And, I kind of went through this transformation. You can call it an awakening, whatever word you want to use, but definitely a giant change has set into me at the start of COVID. And a result of that, what I started to realize is that I'm here to expand, right? I'm here as a soul and the soul is always looking for expansion and expansion of through experiences, right? And so as part of that, I've really started to embrace and being really comfortable with change, because I was always like, I feel that people are we live in fear because we're afraid of change. So for example, why do we have the job that we have for sometimes, right? It's because it's safe. It's predictable. It's something that,
yes.
Right? No, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I think change is scary because, and I can put it in the context of moving away from a major city. It's all I've known for a major part of my life. So then moving to a city where I knew nobody, my fiance and I didn't know anyone before we moved here. We'd never lived away from our social circle for any period of time. So moving away was quite scary, but then it's been the best decision that I've made in my entire life. Possibly the one, because I never felt home anywhere else. Like I felt home in Nairobi, but it felt like being in a place where I am comfortable in, like I had never experienced being uncomfortable in another city. And that doesn't mean like, say for traveling, of course, when you travel, you see different cities and you see all these things, but living in another city that's not your city is a whole different thing. And then people taking you in, making friends, long-term friends, seeing things that you can do, implementing changes that you've noticed are not within the city that you live in, that you now live in, like for example, and also having the ability to even appreciate what's commonly in like the major city. So for example, for me, the one thing that I miss a lot from Nairobi is just going to a movie theater. We don't have that in Nakuru, so it's like, so if I want to watch a movie, I have to drive about 1.5 hours to get to Nairobi. So like appreciating the different nuances, the food, the culture, what people expect, how people move, and also that creates an uncomfortable conversation with yourself is, can you really adapt to another type of people? Can you make friends? Are you receptive to making friends? Because you're now in a different city. You need new friends. You need a new social circle. Are you uncomfortable enough to go out, seek those restaurants, seek a new, like, think about even from a religion standpoint, seek a new church, seek a new mosque, seek a new synagogue. Like, it's whatever you're doing, but you have to, like, yeah, it has to come. You have to actually will yourself to take yourself to a whole new place and a whole new place. So I understand how change is. It's not easy. I'd say that. I think it's not easy. And having being in a place where you have the luxury to change as fast as possible. But I think some careers make it easy. I think in the digital space, you're very accustomed to change. I mean, today it's Facebook, tomorrow it's Instagram, tomorrow it's TikTok. So you have to keep changing and adapting the same thing. But then you realize you just change at the top level. You don't change at the bottom, like for example, or deep down, you don't change at the core. Your core doesn't change. Yeah. So yeah,
I love that. I have so many things, like as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I should be writing down all the things I want to on. No, I love what you're saying. So a couple of years back, I kind of got on this whole notion of I'm gonna, like, part of my bucket list is going to be running a half marathon. I don't know why. I have no rhyme or reason for it. I mean, I was somebody who would run maybe like 5 miles, and that I was like, oh, that was a good run, right? I really wanted to give myself a bold and audacious goal. And I said, you know what? I can. Like, what is telling me that I can't? And so as part of that, I used to listen to this running coach, and she used to say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And she's like, oh, and it's now that you're like on your 7th mile that you're uncomfortable. This is where grit comes in. This is where growth is going to come in for you. It is when you push and challenge yourself and get out of that comfort zone that you're actually going to grow. And so that was kind of like my first baby step into getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is essentially getting comfortable with embracing change, right? Out of that, I started doing things that I knew I was awful at. So I think as humans tend to gravitate towards like the things that come easily to us, right? So I'm a great singer, therefore I'll sing. I'm a great artist, therefore I'll take more classes on art. And I made a very conscious decision to start doing the things that I was petrified of doing or that I knew I was really bad at. So for example, I went and I took pottery, and it was literally, it was me and my 2 daughters. So I got one daughter who literally, it has the Midas touch with anything. So she can touch a piece of pottery, a like piece of clay, and turn it into this like gorgeous, and there were like things blooming on her pottery wheel. Meanwhile, I would take that chunk of clay and I couldn't even sit it. Like, it wouldn't, I'm like, this, I told the teacher, this thing is possessed. It's not working right. You gave me a broken, like nothing about pottery would gel with me. But do you know what? It was a sweet course, and I didn't miss a single class. And I decided to just kind of embrace how bad I was at it. I was like, okay, I really bad, but I'm just going to show up because showing up is like 90% of it, right? And
Yeah.
so I kind of went through that. Um, and then I really liked what you said about, going out there and putting yourself out there,
Mm-hmm.
just like meeting new people, even like going to a new church. Will people like me? Will people talk to me? And I have to tell you, so everyone always thinks that I'm this like big extrovert, and I'm really not. I am such an uber introvert because if you put me in a room full of strangers,
Yeah.
I would literally want to crawl into a hole, hide in the corner, pray that no one sees me. And the funny thing is if someone approaches me, I could talk to them until like for 5 hours. I will find something to talk to a cat and a dog about. But I was never comfortable with being the one to make that first step. The
Mm-hmm.
transformation I've gone through is that by embracing change and being uncomfortable and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, I actually have now found that confidence, or I don't know what the word is, but I found that thing in me, the courage to actually start talking. Like, I'm like, how bad could this be? And I think that it's almost like this fear, this underlying fear. It's steeped in fear that, oh, like they're not gonna like me. I'm gonna sound stupid. There's so many voices in our heads for why we may not do something or for why we may not embrace change. And I think that might be steeped in fear. But it's weird, like now that I've kind of gotten over this hurdle of embracing fear and just saying like, fear, it's okay. Like, I see you, I feel you, I respect you. Thank you, fear, for showing up for me. I love this fear. And by simply acknowledging it, embracing it, and loving it, it has made a ginormous change in how I'm able to overcome the things that are really hard for me, whether they're emotional, mental, or physical.
I have a question for you. You said you run, or we've had conversations about you running. Now, with that, do you run with music on or do you run with music off?
Ah, what a great question. So usually I will run with music because that gets me going.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are moments when I'm going through something. If I'm going through something and I need to process an emotion or a feeling, um, where I just need to embrace stillness, solitude, and quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost becomes a meditative run for me where I'm very present and still and aware of where I am because I just can't. I don't want the noise. I want the quiet and I want the solitude.
Funny thing is, I tell most people who work out or who run that I don't think you're working out till you negate the stimulus. Like
Mm-hmm.
you negate the reason why. Okay, like anyone can possibly run 10 miles on their best song. If their best song was or if their best playlist was playing, they'll probably get through it. But how about running those 10 miles when it's just you and your head? Because that's when you become aware of your miles. That's when you become aware of, okay, I was slow because there's nothing else to listen to. There's nothing else to be a part of. And you realize that the best athletes go through this just with silence. Uh, you never see Kipchoge with his AirPods or no anything, so he's just running. And I think that's a scary part. And most people in today's world, I feel, are not able to sit down with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
As direct as that sounds, it's very hard for people to sit down with themselves, hold yourself accountable. It's like before you got on that treadmill, you wanted to do 5 kilometers or 3 miles. Now, now you want to give up after 2 miles because there's no music or you have music on, but you're not holding yourself accountable to, hey, I have to finish this, you know?
Yeah.
And I think and that's why most people go wrong with their New Year resolutions. It's
Mm-hmm.
because you're not calling yourself out as much as you should. Like you need to be the first person to be like, hey, you didn't do exactly this. Hey, you say you want to lose weight, but you didn't do this, like, okay. And then what manifests in most people is that voice comes out and they think that they should get guilty about it. But it's the voice that's telling you, hey, let's get back on track. Not feel bad about it. Let's just get back on track, And I think that's one thing that kills a lot of people's dreams, for example. I mean, we're all afraid. At the end of the day, everyone's afraid. I think there's someone who said, if you can't beat the fear, just do it scared. And, and I think that's best advice I've ever heard from a perspective of like goals, because everyone's scared. I think when you think about even the people who prepare the most, the one thing that they do by preparing the most is just beating the fear. The fact that someone like Kobe could wake up and hit game winner after game winner, or amazing shot after amazing shot, it's because he practiced it. And at this point, it's more about him remembering his practice rather than remembering that he's scared. So you stop banking on the fear and start banking on the fact that you've been here before, you've done this before, you've practiced it, you've gone through it as many times as possible. And as scary as it is, I also don't think many people have those conversations themselves in this also digital world. Think about it. When you're going through your TikTok, when you're scrolling through your TikTok or Facebook, Instagram, or any social media, your brain is literally off, because all you're doing is consuming. You're downloading. You're not in any way taking part in anything. You are. I feel like they will get a machine that will swipe your TikToks for you. I feel like when they do that, it's going to be the best invention ever, because that's the only thing that your brain is doing today, swiping, especially with social media. And the problem with that is no one's listening to themselves. It's your free time. You sit down, you're scrolling a TikTok. You're not thinking, I need to do this. I need to, you're not sitting in the moment. It's mostly in your free time, you're absorbing what other people are doing rather than feeling, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I think if Apple were to release the amount of data they have on the Notes app, I think this is the most used point of the Notes app in any year. And then the next time it's going to be used as much as this time is next year, January.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's plotting down stuff. Everyone's writing down, hey, I want to do this year. I want to do this. But I don't know. I think it's going to be, I think we just need to hold ourselves accountable before anyone else does.
Ken, can I ask you, do you meditate?
Not as much as I should.
No. That's not the question I asked you. I asked you, do you meditate?
Again, not as much as I should. I don't do it as often. I think a lot. Like, I like to sit down and think a lot, but I don't necessarily blank out all my thoughts and then start thinking. I think the point that I do meditate, or I'd say I meditate, is when I'm working out, because that's when I'm talking to myself. I am giving myself words of affirmation. I am telling myself that, hey, anything will pass, that anything that you're going through will pass, that we as an organism will get through life. And life, as much as seems difficult, is one repetitive loop of waking up and sleeping. Like, if you think about it that way, life gets a whole lot easier, because, hey, there a few things that would be guaranteed in a day is you will go to sleep.
Oh, like, it's not guaranteed, right? People suffer from sleeping. But yeah. I know I understand the point that you're making. What I want to say is you're hitting on two extremely important points. One is mindfulness, and the other one is fear. So let's break those down a little bit further, because you're touching on something like uber important. Okay. So one is, okay, let's see. Hold on. Okay, sorry, I was getting a notification. So the first thing is I want to talk about is mindfulness. Mindfulness is literally the is observing the mind, right? And what mindfulness is, it's being able to become aware of the mind in the moment. The other misconception that people have is that mindfulness, or when you're meditating, you just have to sit there and completely clear your head of any thought. And that if a thought comes through, oh, that's bad, I shouldn't be thinking at the moment, right? And what happens is you start judging the thought. And the other thing that happens is you start judging your mindfulness practice. Oh, I'm not doing enough. Oh, I'm a horrible meditator. Oh, I cannot meditate. This meditation thing is just not for me. And the mind, and what happens? It's the mind taking over you.
Yes.
What you want to do is mindfulness is observe the mind, be present and aware with yourself, right? Your entire self, body, mind, and spirit, right? And you want to become incredibly aware of what's happening. So, for example, when your mind goes into, oh my God, there's so many thoughts, I cannot put I cannot stop the noise in my head. I hear this all the time from everyone. Vicki, I can't meditate. There's so much noise. I can't stop. And I'm like, that's what you need to do, is you need to stop that. It's not that you need to stop the noise. It's that you need to say, oh, look at that. The mind is telling, the mind has a pattern of there's a lot of noise in my head. Okay. And then you go back and you start listening to your breathing. You can listen to the rain outside. You can listen to the wind, and you still. And then another thought comes through. And instead of judging that thought, you go, oh, well, there's another thought. Okay. It's, or a lot of people go, oh my God, I have to do this. And the oh, okay, there's the pattern of me worrying about what I need to do. Okay, I'm going to become present at the moment, right? That's what mindfulness is. And I want to demystify that for people, because so many people don't practice this art of mindfulness because of that very reason. So what I would encourage you to do is start a mindfulness practice by stilling yourself for at least 5 minutes in the morning. So you wake up, drink some water, no coffee, no food. 5 minutes, find that 5 minutes for yourself and go through the process of sitting in quiet and stillness and just observe the mind. And if there are thoughts flying through, just say, oh, there go those thoughts. Okay. And it's about releasing and becoming still and aware with yourself. So, and if you can do that 5 minutes in the morning and then 5 minutes at night before you go to sleep, your entire world is going to change, because what you're going to do is you're actually going to start becoming a lot more aware and present in the moment. And so instead of like what the mind does a lot is it'll live in the past and it'll live in so, oh my God, so-and-so did this to me. Right? Noise. Or, oh, won't it be amazing if I get that amazing job and then my entire life is going to... So then what are you doing? You're projecting into the future. And what happens? You're missing this very moment. Oh my God, my son is playing with his Legos for the first time. How sweet and cute is he, right? And instead of living in that moment, you're living here or you're living there. And you're missing the very now. Go ahead, tell me. And we have a couple of more minutes left before we wrap.
So what's been actually very interesting is how you described it came up into my head. Like, you just need to clear your browser tabs. That's it. In your mind. Your mind just needs to close a few tabs. And the best practice that works for me is canceling them out. But at the end of the day, at the end of every day, I try as much not to make sure that I don't have devices on me, whether my phone, whether it's laptop, anything. So what I do is I put them away and then go to sleep with my notebook. So before I sleep, I jot down everything that I needed to achieve today, everything that I've not achieved today. And then that just puts me in a state of ease, especially for myself, because I'd consider myself a professional and I have things to do. If I don't do that, I feel like I wake up with so many things in my mind, but when I write the things down, I feel that I have released them to the point that my brain has accepted that these are the things that I achieved and these are the things that I did not achieve. And then this then becomes my to-do list for tomorrow and the things that I check off the list tomorrow. And that's how I make sure that my brain keeps quiet.
Awesome. That's
More
awesome.
time.
You're actually coming up on something uber interesting. And when you look into what is the soul, what is the isness, what is the beingness, what is the universe, like use whatever word you want for it, right? But what
Yeah.
is that essence? When you think about it, what that essence is it's awareness,
Mhm.
right? It's presence, it's acceptance, just like
Mhm.
accept what is. And I want to do an entire series on accept what is because I think it's so amazingly powerful and important to live a life with ease and with peace. So again, it's awareness,
Yeah.
presence,
Mhm.
acceptance of what is
Yeah.
love. And I think about it as a triangle. So there's love, there's acceptance, there's presence, and then there's the isness, the awareness. And that's
Mhm.
what it is. And that's living life, you know. It's the power of now. That's what, Eckhart Tolle talks about all the time. It's like Zen spiritualism. That's the isness. So, what we're going to do is in the next topic, I want to talk to you more about fear because I think you were bringing up some amazing points around that. We're
Mhm.
kind of coming to the end of this session, but in the next session, let's pick up with fear because you were bringing up some really interesting concepts, and I really want to dig into that a little bit further. But amazing what came through. We didn't know that we were going to talk about change,
That's why we
and awareness, and mindfulness.
that's why we got into this so that we can discuss these things.
That's yeah.
Because our conversations just hit the rails and we just keep running. I don't know why, but it's a good thing.
It's an amazing thing. And I am so blessed and so honored and so grateful for having you in
Same
here.
here. Same here.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's beautiful. And I think what's beautiful about this is that, you and I are not the only ones that are wondering about these things. We're not the only ones, um, you know, kind of having this human experience, right? And I think that that's like my biggest aha that I've had in the past couple of years is that we're just all having a human experience. Doesn't matter what's your race, doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter what's your title, doesn't matter your step. Like we're all having a singular human experience. And, I love being able to shine a light on that with you so that we can all kind of get through it together. So,
Yeah.
thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Until next time, I'm excited. Looking forward to
All
it.
right. Same.
Yeah. Yep. Bye.
All right. Bye.